This is the Geoffrey and Richie Show. All sports, all talk.
Hello there, and welcome to the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show, your weekly sports podcast. I am Richie Benno, and I'd like to introduce my colleague, Geoffrey Boycott. Good morning to a slightly distracted Geoffrey Boycott.
Morning, Richie. Morning, everybody.
How are you?
Well, perhaps I should explain why I'm distracted. Currently, everything is telling me to look in the opposite direction to the way I'm looking, and I can't.
On the basis there's a TV screen there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Liverpool are playing against the well-known Uniraya Ukazin
That's them.
Zaza.
That's them. Zaza.
From Romania.
Fair enough. Yeah, we're recording this on a Thursday night, and amazingly, I've got to say, Geoffrey has put the podcast ahead of watching Liverpool.
Well, let's see how the game
last
goes.
week, did you, Geoffrey? Didn't do that last week.
No. But yeah, well, hopefully it will be kind of a good omen, and every now and again I can turn around and we'll score.
Yeah, I mean, if Geoffrey does sort of like just stop mid-sentence, it will be because I've given him the sign to look the other way at the TV. So, yeah, good
It could
times.
be tricky. It could be tricky, this.
It should be a formality, though, surely.
You mean the show or the game?
I meant the game,
Right.
But yeah, let's apply it to the show as well. But yeah,
Other than that, I'm okay, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm always well. You know that I'm always well. You know, it's all good in the hood. If I'm podcasting, I'm happy. Ooh.
That was half a signal?
It was half a signal. I'm going to say this is going to be very, very distracting.
Something
It actually
happened.
distracted me there. That's not right. Apologies, listeners. Apologies. Let's crack on. We're going to start with the rugby because last week we had so much to cram in that we didn't actually talk about the Six Nations and England's fantastic win against Wales, or fantastic result, I should say. Got a lot of complaints about that, and I can only apologise
From our listeners?
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
Really? What were they saying?
Well, I listened to the show and I was just a bit upset that we hadn't talked about it. So.
I didn't listen to it, so I didn't complain.
But no, so many apologies for not. But I think we should start off this week. This week with the rugby.
Okay.
Obviously, 3 matches as always when the Six Nations play, and they were. It started with the Wales-Scotland game, which was an absolute belter.
I know this. Hold on. Wales won,
Brilliant.
and wasn't it? They were behind with some ridiculously short period of time.
It was,
to
yeah, they
go.
scored 2 tries in the last 4 minutes, I think it was.
Yes,
and it was insanely exciting, I've got to say. Obviously, from a neutral point of view, can't say I massively want either of the two teams to do particularly well, being English and being a bit patriotic when it comes to the old rugby. But it was highly entertaining game. Do.
You're Australian.
Oh yes, sorry. That's right. Yes, of course. I love everybody, bar the Kiwis, of course. But so obviously that was a great start to the 3 games, and then the second game in the evening where France absolutely tonked Ireland. And at half time, I thought that the score rather flattered the French, but by the end of it was all a bit one-sided. Watched it with a friend of mine who is very, very clued up on the rugby, and we couldn't quite believe what we were seeing, to be honest, when they just came barreling forward in the second half, and it was one of that. Obviously I'm just kind of describing my take on it here. Shall we save it? Because I know you do like your rugby, Geoffrey, but would it be fair to say that you're more English, and you'll maybe contribute more when I talk about that? Well,
absolutely.
In that case, apologies to our Welsh, Scottish, French and Irish listeners, but we'll probably move on to the England game a little bit quicker than maybe we should.
Only because that's the only game I can contribute on to any level.
Well, England were a bit sluggish. There's no doubt about it, and a little bit of criticism after. I thought Italy played quite well, and rather, I wouldn't say dragged us down, but at the same time, we did what we had to do. We went there and we won, and it was certainly something that it wasn't pretty, I wouldn't have said, but yeah, it was good nonetheless. Your thoughts there, Geoffrey?
Well, I must admit I did actually see bits and bobs of it, so I can.
Unbelievable!
I know, it's just pretty impressive if you ask me. I suppose one of the key things that I would attempt to take away from it was Johnny Wilkinson's inconsistency over kicking. Didn't he have score like 50% of the penalties or attempted conversions that he made, whereas normally he would be...
Oh yeah, he's normally out in the 70s, 80s and sometimes even 90s in perfection.
ultimately he was the person that kind of made the game safe for us, didn't he? With the drop kick at the end.
Yeah.
Is it a drop kick? Drop goal.
Drop goal. Yeah, we can say drop kick, because that's not a problem.
Hold on. I felt like a girl there for a minute. Hold on, is that the right terminology? With a drop goal.
Is it side off or offside?
But yeah, I mean, it seemed like a particularly scrappy game, but that was more because I think Italy was so close to obviously getting a famous win. So perhaps on that basis they were trying to kind of, I guess, break things up as much as they could, make it as scrappy as they could, bring it down to their level, and then perhaps just sneak, a 3 or 4 point win. But yeah, thankfully we did scrape it.
I think some of the criticism that Wilkinson's had in the last few days has been a bit harsh. I know Dawson, in his newspaper column, was particularly critical. And he basically was saying that Wilkinson is better at fly half when he's got a general on his outside, something like a Greenwood or a Mike Catt or somebody like that. And Wilkinson has kind of fueled that a little bit, because he has actually said in the past that, I feel more comfortable when, I play with that type of individual outside me, whereas the number 10 is usually deemed to be the person that kind of runs the game, which I think Wilkinson can do. It's not his strongest trait, I wouldn't have said, but I think he can do it. And to have, he had a bad day at the office with the kicking, so to speak, but yet his record is second to the none. And Jono still rates him a number 10. I still think he's our best number 10. His defence is still world class. So yeah, again, he probably didn't have his best game. Of that, there's no doubt. But I don't think it's cause to to talk about dropping him or anything silly like that. I mean, the next game that we face will be a big one. I think it's Ireland at Twickenham, which Italy is quite a difficult place to go. And if you don't get away early, if you don't get on top of them early, they are very physical and they can kind of drag you into their kind of battle. But I think we did what we had to do. As I say, to talk of dropping him, yeah, okay, you can accept that some of the criticism, but I don't think, he, as you rightly said, and is a fact, his kicking ultimately won the game. Had he have converted more, we would have been more ahead and would have probably played a different type of game, but we still got the result, that we needed. And I always think it's easy, and I'm not necessarily criticising Dawson or the likes of Dawson or Delalio, whoever it is that comes out and criticising, because obviously that's their job. But ultimately, you do wonder how these things are kind of expressed and how they're actually then covered in the media. Because I don't think Dawson has got anything against the likes of Wilkinson personally, and he's probably just talking about it from an England fan and from just being a bit worried, really, more than anything else.
Geoffrey and Richie.
If you'd like to download the full version of the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show, including more rugby talk, a comprehensive cricket roundup, the goings-on in the world of football, along with the winners and losers of the past 7 days of sport, go to iTunes. You could download the full version there. We are the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show. You can also email us. Our email address is geoffreyandrichie@hotmail.co.uk. You can check out our blog. The web address is www.geoffreyandrichie.libsyn.com. You can find us on Facebook, and we're also on Twitter too. The username is G&R_podcast.
This is the Geoffrey and Richie Show. All sports, all talk.